took over, her voice cracking with desperate cries. Her intense outburst made Apriano falter. He hadn't expected such a dramatic reaction. Reflecting inwardly, he wondered if his approach lacked the tact needed for handling someone so fragile. Chris took control of the situation. Without further hesitation, he halted the process and requested the next slave. Meanwhile, Apriuto noticed Chris's frustration rising again, something he had become accustomed to seeing. A new figure entered the room with overwhelming confidence. Elizabeth, an imposing woman in her 40s, introduced herself with flair. Her bold demeanor and flirtatious tone caught Apriuto off guard, prompting a swift rejection. Another silent figure appeared. Apriuto observed closely, noting the quiet, composed presence. No words were exchanged.
Oh, I still have not gotten the horn. Do I need a horn for every single one? I mean, I have not gotten a single horn from this, and I need a horn for every single one of the snow ones. And it keeps going up too. What? I did. What do you mean, gang? Wait, let's leave. Didn't get it. And so,
Then you ought to do less talking and more searching. That damned witch. She turned me to ash.
is there another title? There's not another title?
Lady Herminia.
The problem is there's not another title.
Oh my.
Oh
Is
my!
that so?
Oh my!
I thought that Titos would heed me like an obedient dog. But it seems he may have had some other purpose in mind.
That's what people actually think you.
Well, that's fine. He's not the only one who will benefit.
So nice. Awesome.
Bring it. For I should like to make a toast to the blood spilled this evening.
Say my name.
Ricky Baker.
Goddamn right.
That's what people actually
You're
think.
goddamn right.
I can hardly believe my good fortune.
Come here just to talk about the troll shit, and it gets annoying.
Shall I return home and continue writing? This alone is enough to get my pen moving.
And it's like the same shit regurgitated. Oh,
So like, I've seen you're like what exactly do your trolls want you to change about yourself? Like, what did they say?
the living part. I don't know. Oreo, why are you upset? Like, why are you coming here being upset at me? You gave me $15 to be upset at me. I don't understand. I do nothing to you. All I did was come in here and play a couple games of TDM, and you're over here making this huge thing about nothing. I mean, like we don't ban people to put. You got to put it on the back of money. As long as you put it on the back of money, I don't care.
When some might have to be paying child support soon.
What made you decide to start paying it?
No, I'm saying like I may be a baby trap, if you know what I mean. Fine, go get you. Alright.
Okay. There's a guy laying on the bed. He get banned. He got timed out for like a day. One thing that sucks about the double barrel is the max damage you can do is 80. So that means at no point will, no matter how close
you hitting out
to somebody, you're never going to one-shot anyone.
When you're streaming your favorite show, don't take slow for an answer. Switch to Optimum Internet starting at $25 a month. This holiday season, get Netflix and so much more on us. Don't take slow for an answer. Subaru is proud to be the largest automotive donor to Meals on Wheels America, helping senior neighbors in need through the Share the Love event.
Get 0% APR on select new Subaru models, and Subaru will share the love.
The new SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants menu just dropped at Burger King. Dive into 4 delicious treasures while you still can. Hey, where my Krabby Whopper go? The SpongeBob movie, only in theaters December 19th.
I want to be rich. Wishing for more money? All you need is your phone. No. Go to Geico, get a quote, and you can save $900 with your phone. Look at that, it's ringing.
It feels good to save some coin. It feels good to Geico.
I have to ride the storm. Dude,
I'm 3 and fucking 9, man. Like, I'm not running the storm.
I'll try to leave this. That's partially my $2.
It's just like, I hate this fucking map. The only reason I have it on is because I play TDM.
What? I did it. Huh?
So, like, everybody's support or an assault rifle, or has an assault rifle.
Yeah, I'm 25 and 4.
I'm out of there.
Oh,
That Manhattan Bridge to fuck off. Nobody ever wants to play those shits.
You're going back to live in Wishvale. Yes. I'm sure you know there's nothing left of that town. I don't think this.
What? I did it. Wait, what do you mean? Makima is not that low.
I've got enough materials to build a place for us to live. And you've been honing your skills to take on any danger we might face.
In that case, why don't you try to stop us? I don't like it. You are free to live your lives as you wish. I don't know, fair enough.
There are some things I need to get ready, so
Huh? I'm confused. I got this down.
If I drop $50, you give me some child support. If I drop $50,
I'd help you out if you wasn't humping the car. This isn't my tank. The guy gave up after he got stuck on the car. This motherfucker doesn't have the multi-purpose shells. He has the armor-piercing shells, the Bradley.
trying to go anti-vehicle, I guess.
Anti-winning.
That's bad.
Look at that. Just let this man eat me up.
Huh? I'm doing it. What do you mean, game?
Notre Dame didn't make the playoffs, really? James Madison. Oh my god.
Oh, this guy called Bunker Dog. Like, how is this guy just sitting here in the middle of the wheat flag? Backwards players are the best of the group. What are you talking about? Like,
What? I don't think the other points.
the other ones are way worse.
Although Alabama, Indiana is number one. Crazy.
Dude, it's so lame.
What?
I know what's happening. I'm shooting this gun without a suppressor, and I've never played without a suppressor.
What? What did I die to?
Suck for Ohio State.
You got right.
Oh, they were losing.
No, it's really He's got a lot of dudes on defense. Dude, how did the whoever's number 4 just go past all these dudes? I'm literally following.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
I got on my team, and like literally, there was like dudes laying on the dirt between us. I gotta stop using the shotgun.
That's 46.
I feel like if I quit using it,
I'm doing it. I did what I did last time. I did what I did last time. I'm confused. How is that not working? And this is on, by the way, this is supposed to be easy mode, by the way. Yeah, this is easy mode with all curses.
Light, wind, fire. I'm a fireball. Let's start working on. Yeah.
like I'm using a shotgun.
I can learn different skills. All right.
I'm making like 3 minutes.
Like, it's so hard to run a shotgun. We're taking the shotgun.
I get to.
Can we kick the dude that's like over like 50 out of our
Please. I need to join your
Match is almost over. It's gonna make. Let's go put the squad together next match. Dog, I'm
Yeah, I could. I can't put names apart with the Nautilus motor yet, so.
no way this Taz beat me there. I'm over here behind cover. My entire team's to my left. Ain't nobody coming for you, boy. Dog, I used the shotgun most.
Yeah.
Luckily, he's still in the pro line.
Why are you camping with a fucking tank, bud?
7-6 guys.
My man isn't even pretending.
There.
He wants to win the game. Dude, like nobody on our team camping with a tank.
Alright, so yeah, we are playing as a castle.
I can't get there immediately.
I'm gonna take a break at 1 so I can make some food. I got some. Do some barbecue chicken patties. Thank you. We're at an hour and 40 from it. I want to know what the 1-and-1 means.
Something as a kid that you desperately wanted but you never got, like a toy or a video game. I was around that age, 12, 10, 12, whatever. I went to a comic book store one day.
That I'm older, and I control everything. It's safe to say that I win. I don't even need Beppo to give me my money anymore. He can leave. Wait. Can you make it so that I'm able to take off this mask without revealing what Slab the King is? It's hard to breathe in here. Okay.
Wait, the young Marquise complied, silently observing the room. Seated alone, Apriuto took in the setting. He quickly understood the approach. Each slave would be interviewed individually, with arms folded and brows slightly drawn. Apriuto reflected on the importance of this decision. This was not something to take lightly. It required thought, just like selecting a permanent home. Chains clinked faintly as the first candidate approached. The young girl entered slowly, bare feet crossing the floor. Chris formally introduced her and invited her to speak. Nervously, she introduced herself as "You are a wolf tribe child." Though trembling, she bravely pleaded to be chosen. Watching her, Apriuto was struck by something indescribable. Inside a lavish chamber, Apriuto sat with poise as the castle's servants began presenting slaves. His role as a noble and villain required careful selection, and he remained composed as the introduction started. The first to appear was a trembling girl with canine ears, identifying herself as Wolf from the Wolf tribe. She bravely stepped forward despite visible fear. Apriuto observed her closely. Her tearful eyes and nervous stance made her distress obvious, though his expression stayed calm. The pain of constant rejection echoed in his thoughts. Chris beside him also sensed the girl's unease. He inquired about Wolf's capabilities. Chris explained the Wolf tribe's strength, even in youth, noting her high potential. Her current level and unique skills were detailed, making her stand out among others. Thoughts churned as Apriuto evaluated the timid girl. Buying young allowed time for adjustment, Chris remarked. The girl might be frightened now, but gentle treatment could gradually change that. Apriuto continued to assess in silence. Apriuto's decision startled Wolf, though he calmly accepted her as fine. Her reaction was immediate and emotional. Tears welled up as panic took over, her voice cracking with desperate cries. Her intense outburst made Apriuto falter. He hadn't expected such a dramatic reaction. Reflecting inwardly, he wondered if his approach lacked the tact needed for handling someone so fragile. Chris took control of the situation. Without further hesitation, he halted the process and requested the next slave. Meanwhile, Apriuto noticed Chris's frustration rising again, something he had become accustomed to seeing. A new figure entered the room with overwhelming confidence. Elizabeth, an imposing woman in her 40s, introduced herself with flair. Her bold demeanor and flirtatious tone caught Apriuto off guard, prompting a swift rejection. Another silent figure appeared. Apriuto observed closely, noting the quiet, composed presence. No words were exchanged as the chained woman stood before him. Something about her demeanor felt different from the others. A calm yet striking girl introduced herself as Maria Stella, age 15. Her composed tone drew Apriuto's full attention, prompting a subtle shift in his expression. Leaning back, Apriuto repeated her name to himself. Something about it sounded familiar. A distant memory stirred, though the connection still escaped him. Chris offered an explanation. Maria was once a noble but lost her status after falling into debt. Though bound in chains now, she remained a skilled knight, trained far beyond her age. Apriuto's memory clicked into place. Recognition dawned as Chris revealed one more detail. Maria had not yet awakened her magical powers. Despite that, her eyes burned with quiet determination. Her identity became clear. Maria Stella was a character from a famous tale, The Kingdom of Lainana. In that story, she played the older sister type heroine, strong and selfless. Seeing her in pains felt surreal. Prieto recalled Maria's role in the original story. She began as distant, but eventually softened toward the protagonist, developing a deep connection through shared trials. A memory surfaced. Maria once offered her lap to a tired companion during reinforcing her image as a dependable mentor. In another scene, a gentle expression formed on her face while watching someone rest. Her caring demeanor became more visible in private moments, contrasting her usual strict tone. Training wasn't the only interaction they shared. She acted boldly, even washing his back at the bathhouse. Her casual confidence and teasing attitude created tension that flustered him easily. Then Prieto, reflecting on those events, couldn't hide his embarrassment. The indecent moments Maria shared with the protagonist in that tale left him conflicted. Imagining such scenes now, with her standing before him in chains, stirred mixed emotions. Holding Maria within his ranks would drastically alter the story's path. Prieto saw a clear advantage. Preventing the protagonist from gaining her strength and support could shift the balance entirely. Her future potential couldn't be ignored. Once she completed certain events, her magical powers would awaken. That moment, he believed, would mark a critical turning point if it happened under his control. No longer uncertain, he rejected any further suggestions involving Elizabeth. Facing Chris, he declared his final choice without hesitation, fully committed to altering the course of the tale. Decision made, he requested contracts for both Wool and Maria. Confidence surged as he expressed certainty in the path he'd chosen. Elizabeth, though capable, would be left behind for someone else. With ink on parchment, everything became official. Chris confirmed the finalized deal, while Prieto glanced back briefly.
When I saw time moving backward, I marched into the police station and yelled, "I'm turning myself in." The police froze. Conversations died mid-sentence. Officers reached for weapons. My hand trembled as I flashed the cryptic black symbol on my arm for the desk sergeant to see. Sleep deprivation had turned my nerves to live wires. Nightmare spell. You're infected. The sergeant's voice carried a mix of fear and respect. I nodded. I came down with it a week ago. I heard the longer you wait to sleep, the better your chance of survival. The sergeant knew that once I fell asleep, I would be sucked into the nightmare realm. If I survived, I'd return with unspeakable powers. Awakened. But if I died there, my body would be replaced by a vicious nightmare monster. And most people died there. Voluntary surrender was the most heroic thing I could do. The sergeant studied my pale face.
We'll get a court-appointed awaken to give you some tips before you go under. In the meantime, you want to talk to a priest? Might give you some hope.
I stared at my phone's wallpaper. The last photo I'd taken of my mother. I already have something I believe in.
Thanks for doing your part for humanity, kid.
He threw me into the holding cell, and its door slammed shut behind me. Fresh meat. There were a dozen other men in the cell, but I immediately noticed one man, out cold, sleeping on a bench in the corner. Another nightmare spell victim. He looked peaceful, but I knew he was fighting for his life in the nightmare realm. Soon, that would be me. I dropped onto an empty spot on the bench, my legs finally giving out.
Hey, they call me Marcus. You're in my spot.
The voice was low, dangerous. I looked up to see a mountain of a man looming over me. Sorry, I didn't know. I started to stand, but Marcus grabbed my collar and yanked.
Finalized deal, while Prieto glanced back briefly. Wool followed closely behind. That moment closed one chapter and opened another. Already diverging from the story he once knew, two captives stood in silence, their wrists bound with iron restraints. One glared defiantly, the other trembled in fear. Prieto Arc stepped forward, declaring himself their new master. With a confident grin, he informed them they would now serve as his maids. His presence carried authority, but the tone hinted at something more unsettling. Recognition struck the dark. Haired girl first. Her voice cracked as she realized who Prieto truly was, a man infamous across the country. Panic rose quickly, and her fearful outburst confirmed the worst. Suspicion turned to disgust. The older captive clenched her fists upon hearing his family name, Arc. The very bloodline reviled by nobles and commoners alike. Doubt filled her eyes, yet a hint of pain surfaced behind her fury. Tension reached its peak as she snapped at him, voice filled with rage. The threat of death no longer scared her. Whatever he intended, she would resist it, even if it meant her final breath. Prieto stood tall before the captives, dismissing their panic with a calm voice. He clarified that he had no intention to kill them. Despite his reassurance, his tone suggested arrogance rather than mercy. A sharp glare came from the older prisoner, who remained defiant. She insisted they still didn't grasp the danger of their situation. Meanwhile, the younger girl stayed silent, fear frozen on her face. Without warning, Eperiuto raised his hand and activated a power known as Path of the Sphere. The room darkened with magic flames curled behind him as he declared their status they were his slaves now. A wave of oppressive force struck both girls. Eyes widened in shock as the spell's pressure wrapped around their bodies. Sweat poured from the younger girl's brow as her knees buckled. Across from her, the other captive gritted her teeth, trembling from the overwhelming energy. Neither dared to speak, unsure if the worst was yet to come. The overwhelming presence of Eperiuto's magic left the girls trembling. Tears streamed down their faces as they clung to what little composure remained. His voice cut through the silence, commanding them to choose their words wisely. With fear now outweighing resistance, both girls dropped to their knees. The younger responded quietly, while the older muttered an apology. From a distance, Eperiuto watched their surrender with satisfaction. Amused by their submission, time passed. The older girl, now dressed in a maid's uniform, stood solemnly beneath the evening sky, her name echoed through the corridor Maria. A fellow maid greeted her warmly, asking how she was adjusting. Maria nodded, replying with reserved confidence. Though the environment was foreign, she seemed to be adapting to the routine. Recalling her earlier fears, Maria admitted she had braced herself for humiliation. Yet surprisingly, her tasks had been mundane, simple cleaning and service. Though she remained cautious, part of her began to relax in this new role. When asked about her relationship with Eperiuto, Maria paused. Her uncertain response revealed inner conflict. Despite working under him, she couldn't clearly explain how she truly felt. At first, simply being in Eperiuto's presence had unsettled her. He was part of the Ark family, feared and reviled. Yet over the months, her perception began to shift as she silently observed his daily life. Though cold and emotionless in speech, he occasionally revealed fleeting expressions that hinted at deeper thoughts. His behavior was contradictory, calculated yet polite, harsh yet strangely restrained. Despite the rumors, Eperiuto never harmed his servants or mistreated nobles of lower status. Those around Maria seemed to carry strong impressions of him, but their opinions contrasted with what she had seen firsthand. As she confided her thoughts, the senior maid reassured her with a gentle smile. She urged Maria to stay true to herself. That brief kindness reminded her she was still allowed to think, feel, and choose her own pace. A sudden scream echoed through the corridor, drawing Maria's attention. She rushed toward the source, alarmed by the panic in the maid's voice. Her instincts urged her forward before she could think. Arriving at the scene, she saw wool on the floor beside broken dishes. Eperiuto knelt down, offering a calm gesture of reassurance. His words, though blunt, carried no malice. Maria hesitated, unable to reconcile the moment with her expectations. That small kindness shook her. Emotions built quietly inside as she stared at his expressionless face. His actions contradicted his reputation again. Confusion swirled, frustration, curiosity, and something softer all mixed within her. Months passed. Maria was asked if she planned to resign. Her answer remained uncertain, caught between duty and something else she couldn't name. Mito, her senior, praised her growth and Wool's improvement. She entrusted Eperiuto's care to Maria. Though unsure how to respond, Maria nodded quietly. Realizing her role was no longer just an assignment, it had become something personal. Maria hesitated, then asked Mito the question that had long been on her mind. Wasn't she ever afraid of Eperiuto? The elderly maid's expression softened, touched by the concern in Maria's voice. With a gentle smile, Mito admitted the truth. Fear had always lingered in her heart, but it wasn't the whole story. Her expression revealed understanding, not regret. Now that Maria had officially become Eperiuto's handmaiden, Mito explained something she had never told anyone before: the secret behind Eperiuto's feared ability, a skill known as absolute evil. The name alone carried weight. Maria froze. The idea that someone could be judged so harshly for a skill beyond their control left her stunned. That kind of stigma would twist how others saw him, even before they ever met him. The butler added his voice. Because of this perception, servants protected Eperiuto in silence. Sympathy, not fear, kept them close. His life had become one of quiet isolation, where even a smile was rare. Mito, now frail and seated, admitted it was difficult to pass this burden on to someone so young. Yet, she reminded Maria that caring for Eperiuto was something adults could no longer carry alone. Maria stood outside Eperiuto's door, hand on her chest. Steadying herself, her heart pounded, but she stepped forward, announcing her presence. Mito's final words echoed in her mind to continue supporting him. Inside the study, Eperiuto greeted her calmly. Maria introduced herself and formally stated she had taken over Mito's duties. There was no resistance in his tone, only only quiet acknowledgement. With care, Maria mentioned that she had learned about his skills. Her voice trembled slightly. The subject was heavy, but she had no intention of hiding her knowledge. He asked bluntly if it bothered her. She didn't respond right away, but the silence between them said more than words. A shift occurred not in duty, but in understanding for the first time. Something resembling trust began to grow. Apriuto sat upright, voice steady, rejecting the weight of others' opinions. Though he spoke with defiance, doubt flickered behind his bold expression. Maria stood nearby, watching him with quiet astonishment. His words, so resolute and unwavering, stirred something within her. She hadn't expected such firmness from someone so young. While admiration filled her gaze, it was tinged with something softer concern. Returning to his seat, Apriuto opened his book, eyes fixed on the page. The moment lingered in the silence for Maria. The sight was bittersweet. Pride mingled with sadness as she watched his back. Small yet determined, carried burdens far beyond his years. Hands clenched softly, she reflected on his strength. Living with such resolve would not come without pain. That conviction, though admirable, meant he would likely face many wounds before he found peace. Without warning, Maria embraced him from behind. Her arms wrapped gently around his shoulders, offering silent comfort. Surprised, Apriuto froze, uncertain how to respond. The sudden embrace startled Apriuto, causing the book to fall from his lap. Instinctively, he shouted and tried to escape her hold. Panic flashed in his eyes as he demanded space, clearly overwhelmed by the unexpected closeness. Maria didn't respond immediately. Instead, she lowered her gaze, eyes filled with quiet emotion. Rather than retreating, she gently reaffirmed her place by his side. Maria spoke of her role not just as a servant, but as someone who would never abandon him. Her pledge extended beyond duty. She intended to become a constant presence, ready to mend the loneliness she sensed in him. Apriuto sighed and turned away. He pushed her back lightly. I'm the guy who put his name on everything except my cat, buy a boat, and sail around the world. Only 25.
The highest attended concert by a female artist ever. This is Gaga's year.
Diva extraordinaire.
I've seen a lot, but I haven't seen this.
This trade came out of nowhere. Unbelievable.
Yes, this is real.
Oh, no, you're lying. Who could it not? You traded. No, you're lying. Hold on. Y'all seen these Labubus?
This is Andre Swagasi.
Two young giants pushing each other to the edge of excellence.
This is the record I've been wanting to make for a very long time.
Hey, Astrid, Norris coming out with turn 6 into turn 7. The world of millions of stars.
You're much more than that. I can't keep pretending like this isn't going to be my obsession for a while. Like, I can't turn it off. Every song is a bop. I have watched that movie, I think, 24 times.
You've seen it 1,000.
Like, I'm obsessed.
You have the power at your fingertips to make.
This Kevon atmosphere is unlike anything you've ever seen in your whole entire life. This drives better than me. Fundamentally changed the field of medicine.
Time is right. The technology is right. This is the moment.
We will rebuild, and we will rebuild together.
So many innovations that have come out of disaster. Why can't the rebuilding of Altadena be one of those things?
It's good to know people in Texas can help at a time like this.
It's not just people helping people.
Well, I guess.
You know what? Let's try some more now. Cause fuck it, how much is the boost? Cause even the slow feel like it really ain't doing much. I'm like, yeah, cause the flow song, the were.
The first American hook in history. The largest human gathering the world has
see.
Once in a lifetime, the dream to make time. Stay connected to your dreams. No matter how big, no matter how impossible they seem. Life's like a movie. Write your own ending.
Yeah, I still need one of these. I haven't got really any of these.
This is my friend's account. He told me all this legendary gear was earned just by idling. And this is Maple Story Idle RPG. Your hero fights on their own, even when you're away. Upgrade your gear and watch your combat power soar. No grinding, no stress. Just idle and grow stronger every day.
Her to resume her usual tasks. His tone had regained its usual firmness, though his expression remained conflicted. Maria nodded and stepped back without resistance. A moment later, she looked up with a playful smile, asking if she could accompany him. The atmosphere shifted. He shouted in protest, but his objection went ignored, despite his resistance. The evening ended with both of them sharing a bath. Maria, unbothered by his outburst, remained cheerful. Far from the peaceful estate, a cloaked figure moved in secret, holding a bundle of unknown materials. The man vowed revenge. His plan centered on exploiting a hidden weakness to bring down the Ark family. Aprioto stood silently before the stern man seated behind the desk. The Ark family's duties were heavy maintaining internal stability, handling foreign diplomacy, and controlling the reckless nobility. The man's voice carried the weight of generations. With his hand to his chest, Aprioto responded without hesitation. His resolve showed in his eyes. He accepted the role, fully aware of the responsibilities attached to his bloodline. Contrary to what the kingdom's history claimed, the Ark family weren't merely rulers. From the shadows, they served as protectors, acting without recognition. While praised outwardly, their actions were burdened by secrecy. Aprioto reflected on what awaited him. Betrayal had doomed his predecessors. Even now, there loomed the threat of abandonment. Serving the royal family under such risk required not just strength, but strategy. Determined, Aprioto stood before his superior once more.
What?
Urgency filled the room.
Okay, so it didn't even let me upgrade.
Whatever the mission ahead, he was ready to act without hesitation. A new threat emerged in the capital: rebellious gangs unaffiliated with the Ark family. Intelligence reported their numbers at approximately 300, all operating under the command of the Imperial faction. Orders were given without hesitation. Eliminate every last one, no tolerance would be shown. Then Aprioto accepted the command, his gaze sharp and unwavering. The briefing continued. The gang's roots traced back to the Empire's noble class, specifically the Duke of Noir. Their operations stretched across the Aquamarine territory, situated on the kingdom's fragile border. The Noir family's reach extended far beyond the nation.
Hold on.
Known for illicit underground activities, they had steadily pushed their influence into other nations. It was only natural that Lenana became one of their latest targets. Then Aprioto called for his team. Maria and Wool would assist. The Ark and Noir families had clashed for generations, two forces locked in silent opposition. While their objectives differed, their animosity remained constant. Aprioto stood before the two maids, informing them of his assignment. A mission had been given, and preparations needed to begin immediately. The girls looked up with concern, surprised by the sudden announcement. Maria, the blonde-haired maid, responded with quiet resolve. She expressed her wish to join him.
Okay, so I'm using the strategy like y'all told me to.
Loyalty and trust. Aprioto, silent, acknowledged her. Beside her, the younger maid also stepped forward, clutching her equipment. They both insisted they wouldn't be a burden. Their tone carried sincerity. Together, they pleaded for permission to accompany him on the task. Aprioto, now dressed in a travel cloak, declined their offer. Swiftly securing his sword, he turned away from them. The mission ahead demanded his full focus before exiting through the grand door. Aprioto gave one last instruction. He warned them not to wait for his return, as he might not come back that night. With that, he disappeared into the corridor. Maria and the younger maid watched Aprioto approach the exit. Though they wished to help, they could only offer words of caution. He didn't respond, only nodding once before stepping through the door. Far away in Aquamarine territory, soldiers had gathered in formation. One commander rallied them loudly, declaring their mission: eliminate the enemy's leader and safeguard the nation. The soldiers roared in agreement among the crowd. A man raised his fist, claiming the Ark family's time had ended. Cheers followed his words. Just then, a shadow descended from above. All heads turned toward the moonlit sky. Apriyuto dropped from the air, surrounded by darkness. His expression was calm, focused. While the enemy still looked upward, he released his magic with a sharp voice. He activated his skill, Dark Hole. The spell erupted instantly. A violent pull tore through the field. Crates, weapons, and enemies were swept away in moments. Panic spread through the crowd as Apriyuto landed with unshaken composure. Some enemies managed to evade the initial magic shadows scattered as they regrouped behind overturned wagons. Their leader barked orders, urging them to strike back before it was too late. Panic quickly spread. Fighters collapsed without warning. One man shouted in confusion, unable to understand what was happening to his comrades. The commander stared in disbelief as his forces fell around him. With a burst of speed, Apriyuto closed the distance from behind. He struck down the leader before he could react.
What?
The man screamed in frustration,
Excuse you?
unable to believe such defeat came from one individual. Under the moonlight, Apriyuto stood amid a field of silence. Dark tendrils faded into mist behind him. With sharp eyes scanning the area, lowering his hand, he reflected coldly on the events. The term unsung heroes echoed in his mind for him. The title held no meaning, only the reality of the dirty work the Ark family always did. Apriyuto stood beside the carriage, eyes cold as he assessed the political decay around him. The royal family, in his view, had become a liability useless in the face of rebellion. From the wooden platform, he stared into the distance, cloak whipping in the wind. Darkness surged around his figure as he called forth the strength to resist the rising chaos. Power wasn't just a desire, it was the only means to survive against the rebels' brutality. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A figure bolted from behind the wagon, dropping something gruesome onto the dirt road. A severed head tumbled forward, drawing a horrified scream from a nearby servant who stumbled and fell backward in shock. The trembling servant scrambled to his feet, desperation etched across his face. He stammered allegiance to the Noir family, hoping the name would shield him from what was coming. Mocking the man's panic, Apriyuto grinned. Weaklings offered no thrill. What he sought wasn't mercy. It was a worthy opponent. Apriyuto stood firm, while the servant, still on the ground, stared up in disbelief and confusion. The question hung in the air, but Apriyuto didn't hesitate. He responded with clarity, declaring his nature without shame or hesitation. Staring straight ahead, Apriyuto raised his hand calmly. There was no hesitation in his eyes, only sharp certainty. The sky darkened as swirling leaves lifted with rising force. Moonlight illuminated the clearing while Apriyuto invoked his power. From his voice came the name of the spell, and with it, the intent to erase all resistance soon after. Apriyuto returned to the estate and stepped inside with a heavy expression. Two maids greeted him. Maria, the younger one, approached with concern. Despite her words urging rest, he avoided her gaze. He turned away slightly, troubled by Maria's quiet defense of his actions. Though wounded, Apriyuto continued walking. For the sake of the country, he would bear this role no matter how evil it seemed. Maria's gentle smile met Apriyuto the moment he returned. With calm sincerity, she admitted he was the one she had most hoped to see. Her words, though, simple, suspicion crept into Apriyuto's expression. His voice grew sharp as he questioned how she could possibly know such sensitive information. The knowledge she held wasn't something easily uncovered. The response revealed another layer. It was Wool who had spoken out of concern, not betrayal. Maria, standing firm, simply passed along what the girl had revealed. The truth stung, but it was not malicious. Apriyuto's thoughts raced was Wool's skill more than just intuition. Even as he puzzled over it, Maria embraced him tightly. Her warmth contrasted sharply with the cold calculations running through his mind. He whispered irritation at Wool, though his tone lacked true anger. In that quiet moment, Maria's voice echoed clearly. She acknowledged what Apriyuto had endured without recognition. For the first time, his burden was no longer invisible. Tightly holding Apriyuto in her arms, Maria trembled. Her voice cracked with emotion as she confessed how much she hated it watching someone so young forced into endless conflict. Tears welled in her eyes as she spoke her truth.
What? I'm upgrading her. The fuck do you mean?
Was never his to bear. She couldn't accept a world where the powerful demanded sacrifices from the innocent. Despite her emotional protest, Apriyuto tried to reassure her. He insisted the wounds meant little, but Maria refused to be convinced. From her perspective, even the smallest injury was unacceptable. Raising her voice, she pointed out what he refused to acknowledge. Aprioto's pain had become so constant he no longer recognized it. His heart, worn and calloused, could no longer react to suffering like before. That realization struck him deeply. He had long believed he had simply adapted to hardship, yet Maria's words uncovered a truth he buried he hadn't grown stronger. Aprioto stood still, finally acknowledging what Maria had said. Her concern had pierced his emotional armor. If he had truly become numb to pain, what did that say? About the life he'd been forced to live. Maria watched him quietly, her voice calling out to him with worry. He didn't argue. Instead, he admitted she was right. Still,
This is literally how I'm doing what they're telling me to do.
He shifted the focus and advised her to rest, knowing there were things left unsaid between them.
So sick of this shit. Have you seen those ads with the blue soldier getting the number gates? Every time I download it, it's totally fake, and there's a bunch of ads.
Relax, man. It's because you downloaded the wrong game. The real one's called Last War. It has no ads, it's free, and it plays just like the ads.
Seriously? Yo, this game's actually real. See, we got the AK right here. Okay, let's get some more troops, though, because we're going to get wrecked. Alright, let's take him out, and then we're going to take out this dude in the glass jar. He looks like he's dead. Okay, let's get the minigun real quick, and then let's multiply. Then we'll actually get the minigun. And let's go for this glass guy. Let's see if he can get this big guy coming right here. Come on. Alright, we're going to get this guy over here. And it looks like we totally got him. Come on. Okay, we got to get some more guys now. Okay, let's take out the glass guy, because this guy's sick. Okay, no, we're gonna go for this rocket launcher. No, that's like half of our guys. Okay, let's get the glass. No, these guys come in here. Okay, and we lost.
Tap the screen to play Last War Survival for free now. Maria nodded, understanding his intent, yet her response came with quiet insistence. She offered to stay by his side that night. Aprioto, though grateful, declined softly. Days later, the atmosphere changed. In the bright garden pavilion, the conversation shifted toward an upcoming martial arts tournament being held in the capital. A cheerful girl beamed with excitement as she encouraged Aprioto to participate. Her belief in him was genuine, certain he could win the under -15 division. While enjoying tea together, another boy announced his intention to enter the under -15 division. For him, the tournament was a chance to assess the true power of others his age. Then came unexpected news. The hero, famed across the land, was rumored to join the competition. The boy's statement caused a sudden shift in mood. Everyone at the table paused, letting the weight of those words settle. Aprioto's gaze sharpened. The mention of the hero stirred something within him. Questions rose in his mind. Was it possible? Why would the hero
What?
something so trivial? As the scene transitioned, the narrative introduced
Okay, because I did it.
At their grand estate, a lone figure rushed in through the courtyard, urgency in her steps, panting and clutching her shoulder. The girl finally stopped, relief washed over her face. After a desperate search, she had finally found the one she was looking for, and her voice rang out with determination. A determined girl stormed into the courtyard, pointing at the boy lounging nearby. She had caught him skipping lessons again and demanded an explanation. Her frustration suggested this wasn't the first time. Resting lazily on a tree branch, the blond boy responded with disinterest. Despite his title as a hero, Alt lacked urgency. He saw no reason to exert himself without true purpose. Morning sunlight spilled into the elegant bedroom, casting a soft glow on the canopy bed. Aprioto stirred beneath the covers, his eyes still heavy with sleep. Outside, a small bird...
Wait a minute, so I shouldn't put him too... I think I put him too early.
His hand reached out and pressed against the warmth beside him. Nestled close, the familiar shape brought comfort. Still lost in his drowsy state, he nuzzled forward, his mind half awake, driven by instinct rather than thought. A voice shattered the calm. Maria, the Ark family's maid, looked down at him with an amused smile. Her gentle teasing caught him completely off guard. His eyes flew open, and the situation became clear in an instant. Shock overwhelmed Aprioto. He recoiled and shouted in pure embarrassment, his voice echoing through the manor walls. Maria, ever calm, responded cheerfully, brushing off the situation as if nothing had happened. She compared herself to an older sister. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the manor, Wool busily washed dishes, humming a cheerful tune to calm in the kitchen. Stood in stark contrast to the chaos just moments earlier upstairs. Inside the kitchen, Maria approached Wool, who was finishing up the morning chores. She asked whether Aprioto had already returned to his room. Wool confirmed he had gone back right after breakfast, still smiling brightly. Noticing the cheerful mood, Maria casually mentioned it. Wool immediately shared her excitement Aprioto had given her chocolate earlier. That simple gesture was enough to put her in an unusually high-spirited state. Delighted, she spoke about how sweet and delicious the chocolate was, admitting she hadn't known such a treat even existed. Maria, amused, asked if breakfast went without trouble. Wool hesitated for a moment but managed a nod. Her mood shifted. Wool suddenly burst into tears, shouting that she had been scolded by a Preuto. Her crying echoed through the kitchen, catching Maria completely off guard. Trying to explain, Wool admitted she had used detection magic to secretly listen to the conversation earlier that morning. She had only told Maria because she was genuinely worried. Despite her tears, she understood her mistake. Maria gently took responsibility for the misunderstanding, and Wool finally calmed, accepting the apology. Maria gently placed her hand over her chest, eyes filled with quiet concern despite her loyalty. She often sensed a Preuto distanced himself emotionally. Her gaze lowered, reflecting a deeper thought, perhaps. She considered a Preuto's aloofness wasn't rejection. Maybe it stemmed from his own kindness, a desire not to burden others with his struggles. That belief softened her expression, giving her hope. Inside the kitchen, Wool's voice cut through the air with energy, determined. She declared her intent to grow stronger, capable of protecting Preuto with everything she had. Maria, just arriving, mentioned her plans for a sword training session. Surprising Wool, excitement sparked in Wool's eyes as she insisted on joining. But Maria gently reminded her that she had already trained with a Preuto the day before. Maria asked to take today's session instead, hoping to improve herself without dispute. Realizing the fairness of the request, Wool nodded, her shoulders relaxing.
Yeah, this event is like I've been failing more than I've been doing this event. Like you see how much I've been failing this event.
Stepped onto the training field, her expression bold and unwavering. Confidence surged through her as she gripped the wooden sword, determined not to falter.
And this is the team people say to use.
Without hesitation,
And this is the team people say to use. It's the funny thing.
her stance was solid, her movements quick. Preuto faced her head, on ready for the challenge. Each step she took radiated her will to prove herself capable. The clash of wooden blades echoed across the courtyard. Blows exchanged rapidly, both sides unrelenting. Maria pressed forward, parrying with sharp precision. Preuto countered cleanly, holding his ground with composed skill as their swords collided again and again. Pressure intensified as Preuto's strikes grew heavier. Maria barely blocked a sudden lunge, and her grip weakened slightly. Sweat ran down her face as frustration flickered in her eyes. Despite that, she refused to back down. Distance widened between them. Giving her a brief pause, breathing hard, she stared ahead. Once she had been seen as a future knight.
Yeah, no, I'm not